Welcome to Habitly Courses, a production of Manage to Win. Each course is divided into multiple lessons for easy viewing. All are now completely free, so you can watch them on your own or work through them as a team. Please subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, and share your favorite lessons with others. Try to find something that helps you be your best.
Hello, this is David Russell. You have now made it through all 5 lessons of the Experience Bookends course, hopefully passed all the exams. Or you may want to go through these scenarios or games and exercises before you do some of those exams. I don't know, whichever way you want. But you can stop this video at any time if you need more time to work through the exercise. But otherwise, I'm going to move forward at a reasonable pace because we've got 5 exercises and there's a fair amount of slides this time. So we're going to start off with a review of the 4 communication styles of the DISC behavioral language. You can see here the dominance, the influencing, the steadiness, and compliance. So stop the slide if you want to study it some more, because then we're going to be working on it. I'm going to advance now. Okay, here's the exercise. We want to communicate based on behaviors. Might take 10 to 15 minutes. Now, people have different preferences for communication. You can see the high D, brief, bottom line communications, conclusions, high I, clear objectives and timelines, high S, structured, predictable information, high C, lots of detail in writing. Now, what we're trying to do is understand the other person's preference for communication and then adapt our style to their style. So it's kind of similar to Family Feud. Divide people into groups of 3 to 5. One person can be the spokesperson. You can rotate so everybody can participate. Play 3 rounds of the game, awarding 5, 10, or 15 points for correct answers and negative points for wrong answers. Work it out any way you want. Define how someone gets picked to answer, raising their hand, slapping the table, whatever. And maybe you're going to have that spokesperson, one person at a time goes up. Maybe it's per question, work it out, whatever you want. Define what the winning team receives. And you can create questions based on work behaviors. I'm going to give you some samples, but you can create your own also. That's fine. You may want to look at course 13 that's on work behaviors to really get a bundle of them. So you can work on that. All right, here we go. Susan prefers to work with a small group of people and develop relationships. She wants you to make an effort to get to know her and her needs. She likes structure, predictability, and always wants to have the opportunity to finish a task that she started. What is Susan's primary behavioral style? And the answer is bingo, high S. She is a high S. All right, you ready for the next one? Line the people up or stop the video. I'm going to move to question number 2. Vanessa is a perfectionist data gatherer who wants to avoid making mistakes. She asks hard questions, is task-oriented, and considers herself a realist. She would rather make no decision than the wrong decision. What is Vanessa's primary behavioral style? And the answer is I see. Compliance. Here we go. Tom talks a lot and wants to be involved in just about everything. He is optimistic and wants to be liked, but can be emotional. He can be a creative problem solver and a natural mediator who does not like conflict. What is Tom's primary behavioral style? And the answer is he's a high I. That's right. And we'll go on to the final question now. Ming is a high risk taker who misses details, but his strong desire to win motivates him to solve any problem. He's opinionated, creative, fast-moving, and wants to be challenged. He is a self-starter who wants to achieve results in the least amount of time. What is Ming's primary behavioral style? And the answer is ID. That's right. As I say, you can come up with your own scenarios if you want. You may use clients, real people, okay? If you have our talent assessments, you can use real people and actually know what they are. Yeah, so that can be helpful. But this is the end of this exercise. Now we're going to move to number 2. So if you want to discuss this more, you can stop the video, move it back, whatever. but we're going to move on to exercise number 2. All right, this one is based on motivators. So exercise number 1 was on how people do things. This is why they do things. As a reminder, here's all the information. The driving forces are far on the left and far on the right, and down the middle are the 6 values or motivators and the keywords that describe them. You may stop the video to study this before you get started. Now I'm going to move on. Okay, similar game. People have different motivations. You can see the theoretical, they like to learn, the utilitarian, achieve results, aesthetic, artistic, harmony. Remember I talked about they have those 2 things going on. The social wants to make the world a better place. The individualistic wants to be in control. And the traditional wants to find the best solution. Now, we want to adjust how we communicate to the other person so we engage them based on their motivational style. That's the key here. So once again, similar to Family Feud, however you set up the last game. Divide people in groups. One person's the spokesperson at a time. Play 3 rounds of the game. You can award points. Define how someone gets picked for an answer, raising their hand, slapping the table, whatever it is. What does the winning team receive? Maybe it's just some fun, okay? And you can create plenty of additional questions based on motivators, as I mentioned. The lesson 14 of Dave's Charm School describes these driving forces and motivators in great detail. Ready to jump in? I believe we've got 12 of them here. Well, no, I think we've got 6. Yeah, here we go. We're going to go through just 6. All right, so we're talking just the high side on each one of these. So Bella is a subjective decision maker who is very visual. She must understand areas of imbalance. She has strong opinions about the artistic feel of things. She makes decisions based on fit, balance, harmony, and the expected experience. Now, what is her primary motivator or driving force? She's going to be high. All these questions relate to the high. Okay, that was the right side of your screen. Which one? And the answer is aesthetic, harmonious. Remember that? That's the intense one. All right, next question. Ted is independent, likes the limelight, and wants to be in control. He may be overpowering at times. He can be a visionary who's good with both big picture and detail. His focus is on what's best for Ted. So the emphasis is to emphasize the benefits to him. What is Ted's primary motivator or driving force? And the answer is individualistic, commanding. You can kind of sense that, right? He wants to be in control or command. That's question 2. Now we're going to move on to question 3. Avery's all about results and hates wasting time. She also, or always, expects a high ROI on her time. She works long hours and applies resources to solve problems. You have to appeal to her desire to cut costs, shorten time frames, and increase profits. So what is Avery's primary motivator or driving force? And the answer is utilitarian, resourceful. You can pick that up with the ROI and different things. Now we'll move on to question 4. Martin loves systems and finding the right way or best way to do things. He can be idealistic and at times unrealistic. Conservative, he believes there's a value in doing things the best way. You have to understand his rules and purpose for making a decision. So what is Martin's primary motivator and driving force? And the answer is traditional, structured, believes in systems, processes, doing it right. All right, next question. Here we go. Sophia loves to learn and wants to gather a lot of data before making decisions. She asks many questions and appreciates third-party facts. She prefers deep discussions that not only increase her knowledge, but discuss how to apply it. What is Sophia's primary motivator or driving force? And the answer is theoretical, intellectual, right? She likes to learn. Okay, one more question. We're going to move on to question number 6. Here we go. Jorge is very giving of his time, talents, and resources. He has a deep concern for the welfare of others and often does not expect anything in return. He has a hard time saying no. He wants to know how a decision will help other people. What is Jorge's primary motivator or driving force? And the answer is social, altruistic. Does that make sense? So this has walked you through this exercise very quickly. One side of the spectrum, the most intense on the high side of the driving forces, and this is a list of all of them, by the way: the intellectual, the resourceful, harmonious, altruistic, commanding, and structured. So if you can understand these, it can help you a lot. If you can relate what you're trying to get done to what they want to get done, very helpful. This is the end of exercise 2. We're going to move on to the third one now. Exercise 3 has to do with your experience. So this may take 10 to 15 minutes. I'm suggesting that you ask each person in your group to list everywhere they have been a customer during the past few days to a week, even if they did not buy anything. Where have you shopped? And here's what we're looking for. List the 3 best and worst first impressions, the first bookend of a client experience. What went right or what went wrong? So you're going to have 2 lists. One is the 3 best and one is the 3 worst, and that's for each person in the group. How did you feel as a customer based on that? And what are your expectations if you shop there again? Now, if you were out heavily shopping, you got 15 places you visited, maybe you're going to limit yourself to the 3 or 5 that come to mind. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take these lists and discuss each person's experiences and conclusions. You're going to learn from it. Now, when you're done with that, then ask some questions. What's the main reason you have a job? You can see on my list here: to make money, to achieve results, to meet people, to serve clients, to learn and develop new skills. By the way, I talk to people who are all over this spectrum. And I'm not saying there's right or wrong, okay? But I am saying that it's going to be best for your career if your primary reason is to serve other people, to serve clients. If you're great at serving clients, you'll make more money. If you're great at serving clients, you'll achieve better results. If you're great at serving clients, you're going to meet more people. If you're great at serving clients, you'll learn and develop new skills. So you see, the first thing is what you do on the client area. And this is the client bookends that we're talking about. So I asked you to make these lists of shopping and what the experience was like. Now let's bring that back. All right. What's the difference between how you want to be treated as a customer and how you're treating your customers or clients? Talk about that for a little bit. You got those lists. When you're done with that, go to the next bullet point here. What is your greatest fear when first meeting clients? Talk about that. Learn a little bit about each other. Be vulnerable here. Should be a safe environment. Now let's go back to those thoughts on shopping when you were shopping. As a customer, what's the primary thing you want and why? When you first meet with a salesperson or a customer service person, you come up with it either way. Discuss that for a little bit, and then you can stop the video if you need to. I'm going to move to the next slide of this exercise. And what I want you to summarize at the end of this exercise is, based on considering what you want as a customer and how you're delivering that client experience today, list 3 things you can do to improve your first impressions with clients. Remember, everything we did in this exercise is on the first bookend. All right, list 3 things that you can do individually or as a group you guys want to improve, and that's your takeaway from this exercise. When you're done, start the video again, and I'll go on to the fourth exercise. So first impressions, we're going to talk about first impressions. This is another 10 to 15 minutes. Divide people into groups of 3 to 5. Have people gather 5 to 10 photos from magazines of individual people, not famous or recognizable, per group. And by the way, these days it says magazines, you might want to go online, whatever, but 5 to 10 photos of people that are not famous that strike you for some reason, okay? Now, in the group, take about 5 minutes to discuss your first impressions of these people based on their looks. And then by group, ask one person to stand up and kind of describe the group's conclusions about the photos they're responsible for. Now, what you might do is you might get those 5 to 10 photos in advance per group, or the group can select them, while you're meeting. That's your choice. Now, once you've done this, then you can move on to the next screen. Here's a sample. What's your impression of that person? Woohoo! Okay, so what I want you to do is you've got to get real here. When we're looking at these photos, we're judging these people based on how they look. You know what? Your clients, your customers do the same thing of you. So clothing and grooming are important. Your facial expressions are important. Your body language is important. Your tone of voice is crucial. Knowing how to be courteous and have good manners is important. By the way, the 6th course of Dave's Charm School is on business etiquette, and it could be much longer, but it's pretty long as it is. A lot of fun, by the way. And then if you have a mission statement of why you're in business, a vision statement where you're going or growing, and then values for how you do business, you may also, particularly if you've worked with me, have always and never standards. You may have a simple list of anywhere from 3 to 10 things that this is what we never do, and instead this is what we always do. So discuss the reality of what the first impressions are of people when they look at each of you. Okay? Keep that in mind. That ends this exercise. Now I'm going to move on to the next one. Last but not least, closing the experience. So this is number 5. We talked about starting the experience. Now let's talk about closing it. So we want to close it positively. This is a reminder of some things that we've talked about as far as how to close it. You may stay on here and discuss this for a little bit. And then we go on into the exercise. So once again, Family Feud-like game. Define your standard for closing service experiences. Survey everyone in your company to identify the key steps to closing a service ticket and multiple reasons why each step is important. You have 2 teams, Family Feud-like game. If you don't know that, watch a quick video online. And discuss how clients feel when your people take shortcuts. Discuss the long-term benefits for your employees, clients, and company when everyone consistently follows your standards for closing service experiences. Remember, we're talking about experience bookends, how we start, how we close. Talk about these things. When you're ready, go to the next slide. All right, I'm going to move on. The reality of first impressions applies here. Same thing we just talked about in the prior exercise. Okay, the clothing and grooming, the facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, courtesy and good manners, and always never standards. And bring that around, okay? How do these things play in when you're closing out the experience with the client? Is your body language that you're halfway turned to run out the door? Is your facial expression really tired? Is your tone of voice, are you speaking really fast because you got to get out the door? Or are you just really tired? Or are you distracted looking at your phone? There's a lot of things here, a lot of things that can come into play that affect the experience, and you want to provide the best experience. First impressions, we think, oh, that's only when I arrive. Yeah, that's true to a certain extent, but I guarantee you, if you start out strong, in the beginning, the first bookend, when you get to the last bookend, if you don't follow through with that same standard of excellence, they're going to remember the last one and forget the first one. So I hope you've enjoyed these exercises. I hope you learn from them and come away with some ideas on some things you can try to improve your client experience. There's one more comment that I've got. That's the conclusion video, but you've done a great job making it this far through the lesson. That's all for now. Thanks.